I'm going to call tonight's meeting of the Whately Planning Board to order.
We have no video,
Uh,
right?
I don't have any video. Oh, sorry. I'm not gonna do that just yet, until I just turn these gadgets on. Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
Well, you were just letting all the meeting to order. Okay, so meeting recording is on. All systems go. I'm calling the tonight's meeting. It's October 28th, 2025, Whately Planning Board at 5:37 p.m. First order of business, approval of minutes of our meeting of September 30th. Those have been circulated. That was our discussion of the comprehensive plan, continuity of operations plan, and the battery energy storage discussion we had then. I don't believe, Gwen, you received any other comments or corrections. So as usual, if there are no changes or comments to make, somebody, one fine member of the board could make a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from our September meeting.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded, made by Laura, seconded by Mike. So we don't have to do a roll call because we're all physically present. So all in favor of approving the minutes of September 30th, raise your hand.
Yep,
All are
aye.
doing that, including me. So it's unanimously approved. So, good. Our next item of business is the battery energy storage bylaw discussion. So I want to update you guys on some new things and about what's going on here. Let me share this. And it's also, I've circulated these slides. They're posted on the town calendar for tonight's meeting. These are relatively new that have come out by the Department of Energy Resources, DOER, for your benefit, Gwen. And I just wanna, the whole situation surrounding solar and battery storage is like evolving. Everything is, a lot has changed since the last time we met. So I just wanna sort of jump through a few of these charts and highlight a few things that I've noticed and talk a little bit about our strategy going forward. But the high level is I do wanna, there's some outstanding questions about what's been going on. There's some upcoming, they call them office hours. DOER is holding office hours. I'm gonna plan to try to attend at least one of these office hours to like pass it. I hope tonight is like, get together any questions that, I mean, I know I already have some questions. See if we have any more, all right? So there were two briefings that were circulated. And I'm just gonna try to give you a thumbnail sketch of my best understanding. I'm doing my best to keep up, but I can't say if I'm totally on top of this. The new regulations for solar and battery storage are all still in draft form at the state level. It's this 225 CMR 29 section. So they've done some public meetings and briefings about these regulations. And I'm just gonna skip into this past all the introductory stuff. They talk about the state's needs, what they're trying to do, and it's based in the 2024 Climate Act, blah, blah, blah. And then they talk about their goals with this regulation, the timeline. Remember, the main thing is that by March of next year, March 1st of next year, all these regulations are supposed to be published and final. So we're still very much in a.
I thought I saw a part of that where, if you go back a couple slides, Brad,
Yeah,
back where you had the big flow chart.
yeah, yes. So this is about they're saying like the current process is very bespoke, but the recommended process is gonna be more streamlined permitting.
Right, so they show the left-hand side for small projects, but then you see that dashed line where you could bypass the town and go right to the state,
Yes.
right there.
Right here, and that is still something I can't say I fully understand, right?
Yeah.
My understanding is that they've made a distinction in this draft between small and large projects.
Yeah,
And they've said large projects are entirely under under the state through this
Mhm.
energy facility siting board. However, there would be some, and I don't understand how it works yet, but some local input. But it would be a state-run process for large solar and battery storage projects. But for projects that are called small clean energy facilities, small solar by their definition of small, small battery storage by their definition of small, local rules and local processes would apply as long as they conform to the state guidance. Okay, and that's kind of what they're refining, what we would be allowed to do with respect to these small solar and battery storage facilities. Okay, but the regulations will apply to all solar and battery storage facilities regardless of size. The different rules apply based on size. That's kind of a summary of my understanding. And there will be an expectation that for small projects, there is consolidated permitting and a 12-month limit on decision-making by local municipalities.
yeah, and then if it doesn't, if we don't respond.
Constructively approved, right? So,
But then there's a thing, the state has 6 months for approvals, optional 6-month review of local permits by EFSB.
yeah, so I don't wanna get too much into the weeds here tonight, right? Cause part of tonight's mission is just to hit some of the highlights. And, my pledge to all of you is to try to become as expert on this as I can and keep you guys informed and share materials as we go. But I wanna highlight a few things that I think of as kind of new. So they have updated and published a new model solar plan. And they have published a brand new battery storage model Bible. What I have seen an assertion made we have this mass planners email list.
Yeah.
Email list, and the chair of the Shutesbury planning Committee has apparently been following this very closely. He made an assertion on this email discussion list that the state is contemplating what they call a concurrency period, during which municipalities with solar and battery storage bylaws that do not comply with state regulations would be allowed to remain in force. But after that concurrency period is over, the state regulations would apply and would supersede local regulations that were not compliant with state regulations. All right, so basically, if you know what they've done with accessory dwelling units, the state basically said there used to be all these different local regulations on ADUs. But now there's this new rule and your local rules are now superseded and you're allowed to put your own local rules in. But you cannot regulate more strictly than the state.
Yeah.
And it seems like the same thing is gonna happen regarding solar and battery storage. I don't understand that. I wanna ask some questions at office hours about this. But it could mean, for example, that there will be a date where, for example, Whately's solar bylaw will no longer be fully valid to the extent it doesn't conform to any new state regulations for solar. Okay. That I haven't been.
Well, eventually, doesn't a state law supersede whatever the town's bylaw really is anyways, so ultimately,
Yes,
our hands are kind of tied.
and where the state law would be silent or allow
Right.
municipalities to have flexibility, then that's where we
Yeah,
exercise our flexibility. Okay.
And it's something about regulations are. Go with the executive branch of our government versus law is case law, it's law.
Yeah, that's
So
interpretation.
depending every other governor we have could be changing regulations. Cause
yeah,
I
though,
read something about that.
Yeah.
They definitely, a regulation and a guideline.
yeah, regulation is something promulgated by an executive agency, like in this case
So
DOER.
it's how they interpret.
That's right, but I suppose this is subject to change at the legislative level.
This is what we have at the national level right
Yeah.
now, where we had. Regulations under the Biden administration and now they're thrown out the window.
So anyway, I'm not gonna go right further on that. Anyway,
Okay.
so there are these public comment periods. I'm gonna skip over the solar highlights in this high level. To just put
What
on
about
this slide
The
about
250?
battery storage. So just to sort of make us aware of that, the state now in this draft in there. And by the way, I did circulate to all of you the model, the battery storage model, by the way. So that's easily accessible on the website, but I didn't put it on the town calendar entry for tonight. But they define these three tiers. Where tier one is, the threshold is 250 kilowatt hours. And we have set a higher threshold
Yeah.
of 300 kilowatt hours in the amendment we've submitted for this fall special town meeting for the Aquifer Protection District. That should be okay, meaning we're not regulating more strictly than the state. If we had submitted something under 250, we might get into trouble.
Yes, right.
It's hard to know. Right now, we're in this period where
In terms of like streamlining things, being consistent with the state, should we want to change that 300 to 250?
I'm contemplating this question of, we could at special town meeting make a floor amendment. But I don't think it's necessary because we won't run into trouble with a higher threshold.
Only that it just changes. What we refer to as a tier one and tier two versus what they do based on these, and this might change.
We don't even have a tier three, so.
Well,
Well, we're
yeah,
not there yet, I suppose, but
yeah,
I think the
So-
300 is still a good number. It's,
we sort of had a tier, we did have a tier 1, 2, and 3, but we call it like tier 1, what
Right.
they're calling tier 1 was like our tier 0. This is the free for all category.
That's right now. We'd be, according to the state, tier one up to 250, but a tier two.
Up to 10 megawatts.
To 300, so I just think we should be consistent with the state.
I think I'm inclined that way. So I've been thinking about that, like we could just do this floor amendment in November, on November 12th, and say, look, state laws are changing. We're going to make a motion here on the floor at special town meeting
Yeah,
to lower that threshold.
so that was the
From 300 to-
easiest time to do that.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's the easiest time to fix that.
Yeah.
To be consistent with the state
yeah.
number, that's how I feel.
Is that
Seems-
sort of a consensus?
I mean, it
here?
seems
Yeah.
reasonable. I don't know why someone would have a problem if you can,
And I could say, this
you know,
is what's happening.
this is what's
Right.
happening, correct?
So at least it's the same.
Yeah.
We're the same.
Yeah,
It seems less
Here,
confusing
for
moving
everyone.
forward if we have the same terminology and the same threshold as what the state law says.
That's, I know, I think.
I like your idea.
So now, but why I put the slide up is just like at last meeting. And we were so sad that you weren't with us, but at last meeting, we were talking about these different tiers. And we had a sort of internal consensus that our tier 2. The upper limit would be about maybe 2.5 megawatts to maybe 5 megawatts.
and they're
And
saying
it was
10.
based on, we agreed, and I was very transparent with you guys, like, there's nothing you could look at and say, like, here's a reasonable threshold that says lower risk versus higher risk. It's just kind of like what I kind of hate, vibe-based zoning. All right, like, but I could at least rationalize it by saying, hey, 2.5 to 5 megawatts is like, maybe it's shipping container, maybe it's to like, we can live with that kind of
Right.
footprint. I wanna ask the state at a town at office hours, how they came up with these thresholds. Again, are they just arbitrary? They're powers of 10, it's like
Right,
1, 10, 100.
Right,
maybe it's space oriented, you know, like 10 megawatts. Is gonna take up acreage typically, I wonder if that's,
I don't know.
personally, I don't, after listening to JP. I'm guessing that there isn't a bigger risk the bigger you go. Once you get to a point, the risk isn't any bigger. They're not gonna like spontaneously catch on fire and go down the
They're
line.
appropriately spaced
Right,
apart.
like it's just not one of those,
Yeah, I
you know,
mean, there are these.
like if you have this size and once you get to a threshold, I'm guessing the risks aren't.
I think we should be consistent and have our tiers to match what the state has, because there's all sorts of stuff that goes with these tiers for flow charts and how everything comes together and all of
Yeah.
that it should be consistent.
That's kind of again where I'm leading, like
Yeah.
today, tonight, I want us to be aware of where these things are going, but these numbers
Yeah,
are
good point.
bigger
Yeah.
than what we were talking about last time. And I would like to understand what the state's rationale is for picking these numbers. And so all of these three tiers sit within this small clean energy facility threshold. Because above 100 megawatts is the energy facilities cited for, okay?
Yeah.
So this is just one thing to be aware of, this sort of state trend for these tiers, and again, these are drafts, like, I don't know.
Maybe a second piggyback question on the top of that one would be to ask them how confident they are that these are gonna.
That's a great point, like,
Stay.
sort of like
Good point, Mike.
stability of the.
Of the numbers, if we're gonna make an amendment on the floor and,
Right, right,
you know, are they gonna change these? I'm assuming they put a lot of work in this, I'm guessing it's,
right.
this part's probably pretty straightforward,
I hope so.
but you never.
So there's this. So the next thing I wanna point out is, I don't wanna really go over the section by section guidelines. But I think there was something that they wanted to, maybe. Let me just pop out, see if there's anything on they gave this high level overview of things that they're doing. And I don't know how these different regulations apply per tier. Because presumably lower tiers are less regulated than higher tiers, right? But they're addressing various things we care about, like setbacks and monitoring and all of that. They are, I saw things like, here's a bullet point that I looked at and I thought, this is another question I have. Notice how they say, allow municipalities to prohibit on zone 2 wellhead protection areas. Now, what's coming up for us in November, ours is a prohibition on zones 1, 2, and 3. So I don't know if at the state level, what they say about zone 3. I believe they say nothing, but I'd like to understand that. I don't necessarily think our aquifer protection amendment is going to run into difficulties, but I just noticed this and it was one of my questions for office hours.
I question prohibit infrastructure on slopes greater than 15 degrees. Well, that takes solar
Westfield,
panels
yeah.
off of landfills. Cause every landfill is on mountain
Yeah.
trash. So we're not putting them on landfills anymore.
Yeah, so anyway, so there's that. I did notice that they
Skipped over
were.
mitigation.
Health safety. I should try clicking here. Site suitability. I want to better understand they have this whole process for computing site suitability scores. That it's a little opaque to me at this point. But it seems like. I like their goal to encourage projects on previously developed parcels rather than, let's see if I can make this fit. Screen. Yeah, rather than on undeveloped land, I think that would, we would like that in Whately, like try not to
right.
take prime farmland and convert it into solar or battery storage, right? But I don't know how this is going to play out. I I believe they're drafts of these regulations, and I just haven't had enough need for sleep to try to read them. So that's like on my list of things to do, to like read through, this is like the bullet point summary of what they're trying to do. But there's drafts to be looked at.
Some of these just don't make sense to me. Use multiple geospatial screening criteria to evaluate sites for climate change resilience. What does that mean?
I don't know. All right, and again, I just recommend we not get too deep into the weeds tonight, cause some of this is just like,
Well, it's a draft.
it is a draft,
Yeah.
and there are comments. But I don't know if I consider myself expert enough to provide a lot of commentary, I'm kind of hoping. So there's this, all this stuff about site suitability, minimization, mitigation,
Get your checkbook out.
you know?
Scores too high.
Compensatory environment, this is what you were talking about,
Yeah.
compensatory environmental mitigation fees, don't understand that. Right, but I like the concept that if you're doing something that would, might maybe have some impacts.
So if we have a site with a high score, which is a bad thing, that some big corporation come in and write the, tell Wendy a big fat check and we're gonna do it.
And I also wanna find out, like, there were some questions on the discussion was like, if something has a high score, higher scores are bad. Like bigger numbers are
Right.
worse is my understanding, it's like. And so I think as those site suitability scores go up, that would give municipalities more leverage to deny special permits.
Right.
Right, though, yeah, I'd like to understand all of that better. And then you could imagine this being a negotiation, we could deny your special permit, or you pay us.
I just don't like the concept that you're discriminating against someone that doesn't have a lot of means trying to make a project happen, or an investor group, a cooperative trying to make something coming that had enough to invest in the project, but they don't have the money to buy the permit that they need, whereas some big corporation can. It's not fair.
I get it, and at least.
But
this would
wouldn't
all
it be nice if the elementary school got a new wing or something like that in exchange?
Well, I mean, I do generally feel like. I would feel better if. Like towns, like if big battery storage had to come to Whately, why shouldn't we get some benefit?
Yeah.
From that above and beyond just property taxes?
Right,
Like, we are hosting infrastructure that is benefiting not only our own community, but surrounding communities.
Sure.
And so, I'm not hard against this sort of trade-off, like you kind of pay us.
right.
To
Why
have
shouldn't
this-
we get some added benefit from
Right.
it?
And I'm sure.
It's like
the
Yankee
finance
Candle
community
by
would
the-
be
I
happy
get
with
it.
that.
It's like your HOA, all your 30 houses getting together, with your resources to make a project that this happened to benefit your whole HOA, it's great. But you don't have the $200,000 fee there.
But I think we also, like, not that we would necessarily want to be discriminatory towards big businesses or whatever, but like. You know who you're working with at the same time, and if it's big battery business that comes in, might be, their intentions are probably different than. An HOA that wants to put in 2 shipping containers to support. I don't think that their site suitability is even gonna come into, you know what I mean? I think that's too small scale for this to even be
Okay.
Yeah.
a thing.
So I did like there's regulations around filing requirements, that would be good for us as a planning board, for the ZBA, like there'd be requirements. That applicants have to have robust community engagement early in the process. And there would be, common application procedures and standards about what documentation is required.
What is the start date from that 12-month review?
I would assume it would be the date when a complete application is received.
Before the pre-filing requirements, meetings and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Okay,
Alright. So, that's another good question.
yep.
So, and more on that, then there's this stuff about the consolidated local permit application review. So they're working on preparing a common application again, will Whately be required to adopt this common application? It would be like, in my mind, like FAFSA, the federal.
Oh,
federal-
yeah.
Like, I could imagine the state saying, all communities must use this common form, I don't know. I mean, it would be helpful, right?
I was gonna say, I don't know if
Community.
that's a bad thing, and then if the state has to do any kind of review on top of that, that common form ensures they have the material they
Right.
need to do the review, blah, 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 blah.
So I'm sort of skipping through this, and, this is not additions. Cause what I really wanna jump to is the battery storage piece. So, and just wanna leave you with like, here are these slides, if you, subsequent to tonight, look them over and wanna send me any questions. Cause I think in this slide, they list when their office hours are going to be, upcoming events. So like, there are these public hearings. And,
Tomorrow.
There's ones early November too.
well, these are public hearings on regulations, like if you wanna.
Okay,
But there's this, maybe it's in the other set of charts where there's office, listening about office hours. That are coming up. So I wanna jump to this one. So again, if you have questions after you look at this, just email me and I'll make a list to try to bring to all.
Thank you.
Okay, so then this is really more specific about these two model bylaws. Oh. Yeah, so this is the public webinar agenda. This is the overview of the two model bylaws. Oh, and here's their office hours calendar. So like tonight, well, today was office hours, Thursday, and then next week in November. So I'm gonna try to get to some of one of those
Mhm.
office hours next week. All right?
okay, so if we have any information we would like to pass on to before the office hours, we should get it to you probably by like Sunday.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
would think
okay.
so. Yeah, I think that would be good.
Okay,
Okay, so skipping over the. Stuff for solar and. Wanna. I did really wanna jump. Over the solar to battery storage, cause I said up front. I wanna find out the potential impact of the solar model on Whately's existing solar
Mhm.
regulations and. Whether that's gonna be another project we're gonna have to work on. What the impact would be, and like, one thing to keep in mind, Whately's solar bylaw. Has rather aggressive setbacks for solar facilities, like 100 feet. Beyond what's typical for their zoning districts. But I saw language that says the state bylaw regarding setbacks, and I think this is true of both solar and battery storage. Doesn't specify setbacks beyond the whatever is appropriate for the zoning district. Reason I bring this up is if, and this is a big if the state if the state determines that local bylaws are superseded by a state model or state regulations, we could find ourselves where our setbacks don't apply.
Mhm.
We may want to deal with that. There's a lot more to learn. But on battery storage. So we've talked about the tiers. They talk about how they came up with the model bylaw, what the various inputs were to it. They talk about NFPA 855, which is baked into the model bylaw. There have been some comments. I want to check this. I think Judy said that NFPA 855 doesn't deal with spill containment or she's not satisfied with what it does, but I want to understand this a little bit better. We talked about the tiers. This is the other thing I want to bring to everyone's attention. Something to start to be aware of and think about. So they make a distinction in this model between, do they have pictures? Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. So they make a distinction between primary use and accessory use battery storage. And I'm thinking of you, JV, your questions around, say, Yankee Candle wanting to put a battery storage facility on their property. So they have these general definitions, which you could think of as, typical battery storage projects. And then they had a picture here of what they might call a ground mounted but accessory use
Yep.
BESS.
So
So this would be an image of like what you could imagine at, say, a Yankee Candle facility. So their battery storage model makes provisions and distinctions between standalone BESS, that's just the primary use on a parcel, and accessory uses that are accessory to some other use,
accessory to a structure.
to a structure or a
Looks
use.
like a school.
So with, a BESS with a solar field and accessory use?
Yeah, I think they would define, I think I saw language here somewhere. Like they talk about co-located BESS.
Okay.
A BESS installation developed within or directly adjacent to the boundaries of an existing or proposed solar photovoltaic
Okay.
installation. So I like it. I mean, they've provided some good definitional language for the various ways in which BESSes might show up. But I wanted to talk us through this little chart. Where these are, as it says here, suggested permitting requirements by conceptual zone. And see what this implies. BR means by right. SP is special permit.
We have to allow something by right. At a minimum, the excuse was, we can't make everything a special permit, but I saw rules.
I
like that.
think that's true.
I thought I read that
I
earlier.
think that's true. So I want to ask these questions. They say suggested, not required. So I'd like to ask questions about, well, like, if, for example, we wanted to make tier one, I don't know why we would, I mean, I'm not recommending tier one be special permit. But if we wanted to make tier one special permit everywhere, whereas they suggest it should be by right everywhere in this table, are we gonna run afoul of, with the Attorney General, I don't know, right? But look at what they're suggesting, and to me, my way, these don't look unreasonable, like these tier one relatively small things, 250K or under, by right anywhere. I think we four are kind of comfortable. The bigger ones, whatever tier two or tier three, now we get into in residential settings. A primary use BESS of tier two or tier three require a special permit. So the idea is that you're not saying it's not allowed in a residential district, so it's not no. You're saying it's allowed in a residential district, however, you can discretionarily deny in particular places. This is what special permits are for. It may be okay somewhere within a district, but not everywhere. So this seems like that's okay. Then they say for commercial districts, it might be by right, but a special site plan review would be required. And then again, they would have different rules regarding BESSes in an accessory setting. So I just want you to look at this table and think about it, because we will eventually have to fill in our own table of use with our various tiers of battery storage.
Brent,
Yeah, hey G.
the model bylaw has some discussion about where towns have flexibility and where they don't, and I think you might want to look at that in conjunction with this.
Yes, that's what I want to do. And I also want to take that question to office hours, right? So, because I don't necessarily think this is an area where we would be allowed to regulate more strictly, meaning turning site plan review into special permit or by right in a site plan review or whatever. But I don't know what the limits of that are.
Yeah, and we also have the complication of combining agricultural and residential.
Absolutely. And I would tend to think that for Whately, we could because our commercial district is also residential, we could treat it either the way they treat residential here or the way they treat commercial, whichever way feels most appropriate.
But I think
But
the notes, I haven't looked at it for a while, but my sense was that the comments indicated that there was more flexibility than one might expect. But I could be misremembering.
I don't know if there was much else I wanted to bring to your attention, because you have these slides. Oh, this was the comment on setbacks. It does not alter so they don't specify recommended
Okay.
setbacks. They leave it to the individual towns, again, for these small, I don't know what they do for large, but for small, they do have this minimum distance of 10 feet between the equipment, presumably to keep the doomsday, the whole thing blows up scenario from taking place, right? So we want to think about our setbacks, and in the model, they sort of highlight where we have language about setbacks. They would talk about fencing, the model apparently, something we like, requires use of non-PFAS fire suppression. I think there are questions, I know there have been questions about hazardous liquid containment. And this says 110%. I wanna talk more to JP, and again, there are some thinking like, boy, so much water is gonna go, and.
Right.
So I'd like to understand that better. But this is another question that I want to ask at office hours. So if we were to say in our model bylaw, we want it to be 110% or 150%
Right.
or 200% or 500%. Like maybe they'd say, no way, Jose.
Right, at what point is it excessive versus, yeah.
Right, this is the trade-off, like,
Mhm.
they say we can make, make reasonable regulations around public health, safety, and welfare.
Right.
But it has to be justified in some way, so. But they are thinking about the right kinds of things in the model.
Mhm.
And then the other one, we talked about fire safety, an emergency response plan. I think I'd like to to look at that part, forward that over to JP and get his feedback on all of that. And that's it for this particular briefing, so I just stop sharing that. So I just want to tell you where my thinking is about our next steps. Given now that there's a model bylaw, a draft model bylaw that's out. I'm thinking the smart move for us is to kind of, you might say, reset, start with that. And tweak it, kind of stay on top of the state changes to the model over the next few months. But try to keep up with that and have our draft model best bylaw consistent with the state model. Exploring and looking at work from the ES3C, they had various ideas. And the question is, what if any of those could be incorporated? Either some of them are just already in the model.
Right.
Some of them could potentially be incorporated. But what I definitely do not want to do is, I don't want to get in a situation where we try to stick something in that causes all of this work to get rejected by the Attorney General. If anything, I'd be more inclined to almost adopt the state model with putting in what we need.
Yeah.
And then, get that in by next annual town meeting. That should pass, because we're following the state
Right.
model. And then if we're we're not happy with it, then we can propose strengthening tweaks over time and see which would fly with the Attorney General's office.
Does the state have a timeline set in stone where they're gonna roll this out?
March 1st, 2026,
Six
when
is,
all of their regulations.
Are supposed to,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Hey, Brett, we briefly talked earlier about our actual protection bylaw when the town meeting. We don't
Yes.
have another meeting before that meeting.
we do not have another meeting.
Should we
before that.
have a motion and a discussion on us as a board? That we wanna recommend as a board that we do a floor amendment to change it to 250.
You know, it's great to have you guys on. So let me just hold that idea for just one more moment. I think the answer is yes. But just, like I said, I think for our next steps is to pick, adopt the state model, tweak it, aim for a public hearing
Yeah.
on it in the March or April timeframe, like whatever we need to do, the latest possible public hearing date to be able to get the work done for next annual town meeting.
Because the state stuff should be,
Yeah, the state should be done by March first.
Yeah.
Really. For most municipalities that are not on top of it like we are, they may not even start to deal with it until
Mhm.
like April, May, June, and they're looking at 2027
Right.
to have bylaws on their book, which is why there's this discussion around the concurrency period. There's this guy from Shutesbury is sort of recommending to the state that the state not delay any sort of superseding rule until sometime like at the end of 2027. Meaning that
Give
local
everybody a chance.
municipalities would, their local rules could stay in effect through 2027. And then they would have to conform to state rules.
Right.
kind of,
But that's still an unknown, that's like an area of uncertainty. So that would be my strategy, if you guys feel
Yeah,
good
I
about it.
Yeah, I think having the model bylaw is a real game changer for this whole
Yeah.
thing, to be honest. So, yeah, I think I'm,
So, given that, yeah, I think, so we had a discussion, the state seems to be aiming for their tier one threshold to be 250 kilowatt hours.
yes,
We still have no basis for knowing how they picked that number.
do we have a consensus? That's a good thing to change it, that it's a floor amendment,
And town council had, when town council reviewed the ES3C draft, specifically noted, because town council had previously reviewed our aquifer protection bylaw and noted the inconsistency. Town council said, whatever you do in your battery storage bylaw should be consistent with whatever you do in the aquifer protection bylaw. So if we foresee that our battery storage bylaw will use the tier thresholds laid out by the state, then now's the time. I mean, again, we could wait till next annual town meeting and fix it then, but I think 50 kilowatt hours, one way or the
Yeah.
other,
It's
is not
not
gonna
the-
kill us.
right.
okay, so
All right,
I will
so,
make a motion, okay,
all right, so now Gwen is paying attention.
I make a motion. That the Whately Planning Board. Offer a floor amendment. To the,
Can I propose some?
I was gonna do the,
Recommend.
We're gonna recommend.
Recommend.
recommend a floor amendment.
Recommend to change.
Amend.
To the fall 2025 special town meeting warrant. November 12th, 2025. Article number 6, zoning bylaw amendment. Aquifer protection district. That's right off, the,
Oh, okay,
that's right off the town meeting warrant.
okay.
Keep going. With your hot.
That we are amending the threshold from 300 kilowatt hours to 250 kilowatt hours.
Full stop, then we can explain.
Okay. Just right there,
Just right there.
okay.
Okay, read that motion back.
Oh, I cannot read it. I'm like scratching it back. I'll have to rewatch this meeting.
Okay, all right. So
The
you're,
gist of it is to be in conformance with the
Yeah.
state.
but you're.
Yeah,
The motion is that the planning board recommends that
A floor amendment,
town meeting amend
Yeah.
this article
yes.
to change the threshold from 300 kWh to 250 kWh.
Yes.
So does everyone understand the motion being made, please?
Yes,
Okay, very good. So the motion has been made. Do I hear a second for the motion?
second.
Laura has seconded the motion. Okay. All of us are here. All in favor of that motion? It passes unanimously.
Who is going to town meeting?
I'm going to town meeting because I have to make the motion.
Okay, I could go too for that.
Okay.
So,
And I will inform the town administrator of tonight's vote, and he will guide me on any other things I need to do.
you have to probably notify the moderator that we intend.
Then I'll do that too.
Right, we wanna tell them that we offer an amendment,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
if they have to vote on the amendment, then they vote on the article, I believe.
Actually, you can just read a different number. You don't have to amend. You don't have to go through,
Uh-huh.
read 250 and say that it's different if you're making the motion.
Okay. So let me.
I don't know about the problem.
I would ask Pete and see what he tells you to do.
I don't
I
know.
will do whatever is the simplest,
But
easiest.
The consensus of the
I think
board.
it's, I think it's easier than you think.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's our
However,
point.
the mechanism to do that at the meeting
This
is,
is the cheapest,
TBD.
easiest way to do
Yes.
this right now.
Okay,
yes.
all right, very good. Okay, then I have nothing further on this topic.
Could I raise a suggestion? I think there's some gaps in the model bylaw. I mean, for one thing, I read it quickly. I may have missed things, but I don't think there's anything about insurance there. A requirement that the facility have liability insurance, and especially for protection of the environment, which was very important to the committee. And the other thing is, and I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, but I think NFPA 855 is very poor about water. It requires that there be an adequate amount of water, but it doesn't specify what that is. And it doesn't really, which would be up to the fire chief, but it doesn't say what to do if there's no public water. And I think that maybe the bylaw people should look at that and think more about it, because as far as I can tell, the 855 sends you to another NFPA bill, which is based on buildings, where how to handle fires where you don't have public water. And there's nothing in there about battery storage or anything that would be the volume of water that's required. So I think that the people drafting this should really look at this more carefully. And those are two significant things that I would recommend. And I will write comments, but it would be nice if the board, and I can share my draft with you, but I think it would have more clout if you guys submitted things.
That'd be great. I'll take a look at that. But certainly if you were to share, I would encourage you to send independent comments by the November 14th comment deadline to the state. And if you have something you'd like us, because I think I'd be happy, assuming there's consensus among the four of us here tonight, that if Judy were to send her recommended comments, and I can basically take that and maybe put it in my voice or on our behalf and submit that independently of Judy, in addition to Judy, to the state.
Sure.
I'd be happy to do that.
Great.
Is that good, Judy?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, very good. All right, so we're gonna move off of the battery storage. But again, encourage you to look at the model, look at the slides, see if you have any other comments or questions. Can we, let's move on?
Yep.
All right, you had a look on the
No, it's good.
Okay, great,
It's good.
very good. So the next topic is a little sensitive. So we have a member of the planning board who has just been not attending tonight's meeting, the last 3 meetings before that,
Yep.
and has not been responsive to my attempts to reach him. It is, I am told, we have the right as a planning board to vote to dismiss any one of our members, presumably for cause. I would not, it's not my preference to do this, but I do think so here's a way in which I like to run this board. I'm going to tell you all right now that I would recommend that we have a motion and vote to dismiss this member.
Yeah.
And then, assuming the motion passes, I pass that result on to the town moderator, the appointing officer. And then, I've never been in this situation before, but I understand it's done, and then we can actually look for another member. So, I don't wanna be the one making the motion, like I like to make the recommendation, then you, with your wisdom, decide. Always, you either get to make a motion if you wanna bring up something for discussion. If a motion doesn't get a second, then we don't discuss it. If a motion is made and seconded, we get to discuss it, and then we have a vote. That's the way I like to do it.
I am not ready to look for a dismissal right now. We don't know what people have going on at home.
Okay.
Maybe she's lost interest, maybe there's a medical issue,
Yeah.
maybe something has come up that we aren't being insensitive to because we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I would rather have like maybe the moderator reach out and try to find out if there's a reason why. And we can do that privately without embarrassing someone. That's what I would wanna do. So I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt
Okay.
of like. Well, I don't know what you have going on at home, you don't know what I have going on at home, and I just I don't wanna go there quite yet. That's just me.
There's been no response from your outreach.
No,
Via
two
email, nothing.
emails, at least one text message.
Okay,
I mean, what I haven't done is actually dialed the phone number and left a voicemail,
sure.
but I know I've got the correct phone number.
Right.
'Cause I have.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm happy, so what is the consensus of the board? What would you like me to do as chair?
Well, we don't have something pressing on us right now
We
in
don't.
front of us
We don't,
that talk to Pete, reach out to. The moderator, see if the moderator get any headway, if the moderator doesn't get anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, if there's, I hate to like. To do
A staff
something and find
decision.
out that she's in the hospital or,
I heard,
Something
Right.
happened.
yeah,
So then the moderator can find out, like, there's just not any interest anymore, there are too many other applications or something. Than ask for a resignation.
okay,
I'd rather ask for a resignation
Yes.
than
I'd ask,
issue a
pose
termination.
this question, so I'm happy I don't feel any pressing need,
yeah.
Right.
but I want you to be
It
aware.
would be
so that
nice to have it resolved by the new year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially if we're gonna be having more discussions on hazard storage bylaws and, like, we really need to have somebody who can be attending to these issues consistently.
I might suggest that we all start thinking of someone. To
Yeah.
replace,
Right.
just in case.
Yeah.
As the newest person, yeah, it's a lot. So the faster we can,
Yeah.
if it, you know what I mean, like, if it comes to that, the faster we can
Yeah.
have someone
Yeah,
get on board,
and
then,
putting out feelers, like,
yeah,
my goal is to find people who can commit the time,
Yeah,
do some work, are fair-minded, don't have an axe to grind, that
Harlan
sort of
would be
thing.
great, but he's got too much on his plate, he was great here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, for the minutes, I'd like to have this part of the discussion kept very concise, right? We don't need to name names, we just had a discussion
Yeah.
of a member who's not been able to attend quite a few meetings, and we discussed like what we might do about
Okay,
resolving that.
so
Right.
continued outreach or. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you have as the chairman, you have the moderators here,
I do.
Yep.
Not literally, but
because we are appointed by the moderator.
we are.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
very good. I'm ready to move on. The only other thing before I find out if any of you have other things on your mind, I just want to share a couple of things. So I did circulate this information, but these fall, winter webinar, training webinars are really great. $35 a pop, and you don't have to go anywhere. You just do it at your computer. Roles and responsibilities of planning and zoning boards. Good stuff. I've done that a couple of years ago. And they're during hours where you're not at work, like 6 p.m. And you get the recording and you get take home service. I would recommend roles and responsibilities of planning and zoning boards. For my housing committee people, I'm recommending working with NGL chapter 40B, it's housing. Introduction to the subdivision control law on A&R. It'd be great if one of us would really become a little, one of our outstanding, we've been really consumed by that. Yeah. Mostly this is because I only have so much, headroom to pursue projects, but, and I want to point out, like, the planning board is not battery energy storage bylaw board, right? So if there are other pressing projects or things that you want to work on, like, we can figure out a way to make that happen. I just personally only have so much time to do it one thing at a time, and this battery storage bylaw is so complicated. So like, our subdivision control regulations are out of date. And we probably need grant money or FERC help to fix it, but having some organic expertise on the Subdivision Control Act and ANR would be cool. So there's a webinar, January 15, like early in the new year. Adopting and revising rules and regulations, really what we're doing with this battery storage bylaw. So I'm gonna try to do that one in January 20th. So there, and that was about, those were the three that really stuck out. And more than one person can go, we can reimburse your registration fees, so like.
Did they hire someone to replace Rusty?
We are actively I'm on the search committee.
Okay.
We've interviewed, we've had almost 50 applicants,
Wow.
of whom a very small number are actually qualified.
Okay.
Hey, that's good that there's people applying.
Yes, I just wish people would actually not
Read the-
just say, I'm just hitting submit on Indeed. But
Yeah,
anyway, we've interviewed what, 3 candidates? Oh, we've got like a couple more, anyway, we're still in process, but we don't have anybody, we don't have any finalists.
Okay. Okay, nothing new on the X 35 committee because we don't have a community development person yet.
Right.
I had a Franklin County Chamber of Commerce meeting on housing and our shortage, and the Secretary of Housing State was there. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of things.
And there's like another area where gaining some organic expertise would be helpful, like if we wanna do redevelopment in the exit 35 area. What we're gonna wanna do is create an overlay district. Not create its own little zone.
Yeah.
We wanna create an overlay district, never done that before. Where, the way I understand overlay districts work is that if you have a parcel within the overlay district, you can either follow the zoning rules of the overlay district or the actual district that you're in.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right, so if we wanna make certain things, so you don't end up having to make rules that apply all over the community, right?
just in the overlay.
Yeah, like if we wanna just allow certain kinds of businesses there, or change setbacks or other things, like to make it more viable. We can, but I don't know how that's done. So learning about that would be great, but that maybe is what we need grant funding to pay a consultant for, that I just. What else did I wanna tell you? I wanted to tell you that the entire Whately code, including the zoning bylaws, as of last November 2024, is approved and posted electronically on the town's website.
I know, it's so different.
It's beautiful and very easy to navigate. You don't like it?
I don't like it. I liked our old zoning bylaws were so easy to navigate.
You can download them and print them. anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm
but,
used to the old way.
and then I just learned,
I'm on Windows 10.
and they've been
Don't
all
tell
support
people
for
that.
that,
I know,
so
I can't.
you're screwed.
Uh,
Windows 10, that's like Windows 95 or
Yeah.
or OS 2. So the other thing was that this new floodplain bylaw that we passed at town meeting in June has been approved. There was a Scrivener's error. Anyway, it's all sorted out, and that's just been approved by the Attorney General. We're
Yeah,
now waiting for our code contractor update the code on the Whately Town website to reflect that. But we are all approved, so all of that's in effect. And that's, by God, all I've got for you guys, 6:37. So does anybody else have anything?
yeah, I do. The town administrator updates in the October 8th meeting. FEMA, I think you just went over this, but the FEMA flood insurance map rates update, we received notice that FEMA has ready to finalize the flood insurance map updates.
Right.
Whately, along with the rest of Franklin County, received the preliminary updates back in May 2024. The start of the appeal period means the property owners in the community can submit scientific data. Should there be an error in the mapping, I've asked the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board to verify if they have any data that's necessary for such an appeal.
I looked at that email and I can't imagine
What
I'm not
data
aware of
would you
any
have?
data that I have. Like, no one's told me of any changes or in terms of A&Rs or anything we've approved.
Okay,
I don't know of anything that would change elevations or
okay. So did you reply to Peter or no?
did not reply.
Do we have to reply as a board or just
Well,
you as
you
the chair?
were vice chair, you would be welcome.
He didn't send me anything.
How did you get that?
I read the minutes on the website.
Oh. So you're recommending.
No, I'm just wondering, like,
Chair.
I read the minutes and I saw a planning board. I'm like, do we need to talk about that? Because they talked about the selectmen's meeting.
Maybe just a
We're now
simple,
talking about it. I
Okay.
hadn't planned to put it on the agenda. Let me put
He
it.
didn't send us, he sent you an email or a letter or
He
something?
sent me an email
Okay,
to which I read the email and I obviously elected to not put it on our agenda because I didn't.
doesn't matter.
But if tonight you know of something where you think,
No, I
we
don't.
really ought to publicly discuss this.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know if he was looking for a response from the board. That's what my question
Yeah,
was.
nothing.
Okay,
This is one of those things where to me, I treat it as a courtesy notification.
Okay,
I have something.
fair enough,
We don't have a vote on.
fair enough. Okay.
Sounds good.
But I thank you for reminding me about that.
I do read the meeting minutes, it's usually boards.
That's great.
Judy, you're so organized this
Yeah.
evening.
All right. So then, if there's no other planning board business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
next meeting.
Oh, yes, let's talk
Yeah,
about our
next.
next meeting.
Shoot, Mr. Vice Chair. Because this.
Okay,
I have a calendar that is continuously full, so being.
all right. So, here's, let me take a quick look.
FCC.
Like, we had shifted our meetings
I think it's already in
to
the.
Tuesday. Well, yeah, by default, it was gonna be, Thanksgiving, 27th is Thanksgiving. So number one, our normal meeting would be on the 25th, Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Let me just take a quick look at the Whately Town calendar. Or see when the select board is meeting in November. Okay, so the select board is meeting on Wednesday, November 19th, the week before Thanksgiving. Now, it being Thanksgiving week, we could choose. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't believe that I would have much on battery storage. Like, the next time what I plan to do is take the model bylaw document, extract out the model bylaw. Make a few tweaks and add comments about what I think we wanna put in it, and then we would have a preliminary discussion. Do I think that has to happen in November? Not really.
We could maybe.
We could skip the November meeting. Cause we are going to be, or at least
And
one of
then-
them.
Subject to any A&R filings or.
Yeah, that's right.
With Christmas being kinda,
Right.
you know,
Same
could we
deal,
do it
yeah.
like in the, maybe we, instead of skipping, well, we are skipping November, but do something in the middle of December?
Yeah,
Yeah, like the 9th or the 16th, maybe.
and we could,
Yeah,
if you have preferences, I mean, we used to meet on Wednesdays versus Tuesdays.
we
No one
might be
cares.
going to there when it gets to.
What were you?
I'm on
finance?
I'm on the finance committee, we
Right.
usually meet on Tuesdays, because the select board meets Wednesdays.
Right,
And they only shifted it because I think Joyce was overseas or something
Yeah.
for the summer, they had to shift it.
Okay,
And that's why
Wednesdays
we-
are tough for me. Tuesday
When-
works great for me,
oh,
but,
Tuesdays.
but I understand if you're,
And Pete hasn't issued the schedule for.
But
the
we
finance
might
committee
be able
season.
to schedule on a Tuesday that's not when the finance committee's.
We certainly could do that. Pete will have that schedule. I think he was gonna try to have that done sometime in the next few weeks. When we were meeting,
Okay.
he was working on that.
Well, maybe what, should we do the following? That we tentatively, in case some
Yeah,
planning
sure.
board,
Sure.
like
Something
these
comes up.
people who wanna talk about a solar facility in Whately,
Mhm.
they wanna talk to us, cause what I've told them is that my best recommendation is, don't just drop a site plan recommended application on us. Come to a meeting, talk to us about the project, give us a chance to give you some, ask questions, give feedback, and then.
Why don't you guys meet, in the beginning of the month, December 2nd?
Well, I don't
Right
know,
after.
too soon. I love you guys.
No, I'm just thinking, because.
Thank you, Gwen.
I know, that's enough out of me.
I was planning,
They don't line up with January perfectly.
well, I was going to propose that we tentatively put Tuesday, November 18th,
As a just in case.
as a
something
just
comes
in
up.
case.
Okay.
So we don't do on the 25th,
Okay,
which will be 2 days before
and do
Thanksgiving.
the 16th of December.
And then we would say
Then you'll line up with
November
that.
18. And then we would do, would be good to really get consistent about having regular monthly meetings again,
I
but
know.
anyway. Cause we couldn't do the 23rd of December.
Right,
Right, well,
We
that's
could
why,
do the 16th,
16th.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
fine with that.
and then we probably wouldn't meet again until early January. So November 18 and December 16.
and these are all at 5:30.
All
Well,
five.
November is just in case.
Yes, so we'll say
I wrote just in case.
November 18th will be canceled unless there's a reason to meet. But
okay.
we will plan on definitely meeting on December 8th.
Perfect.
Okay. December 18th.
December 6th.
December,
16th.
November 18th.
November
November's-
18th and December 6th.
Yes,
You got that, Glenn?
Right, yeah, I'm getting there. Okay, November 18th, 5:30, just in case, but then
November
16th at
for
my
real.
rate.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
16th
Yeah.
is a definite.
Yeah, right,
Okay.
just gotta.
All right, back to my original question.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion has been made.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion.
Meeting is adjourned.